TW, share, post. It's all about that love too. We still have the translation services at the back if you need the headsets. And remember, tomorrow we continue with more content. We have over 70 master classes. This panel is going to be very interesting because we have, again, remember we are reinventing the event together, the physical event with the online experience on stage and the online experience with you around the world. We had this lady yesterday. She was telling us a lot about CBDCs. But today, she's going to expand more and go into detail with leaders of the Bank of Thailand, Central Bank of U.A.E., Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and the People's Bank of China. Moderating this panel, we have Bénédicte Nolens, Center Head of BIS Innovation Hub, and they will be talking about mBridge, building a multi-CBDC platform for international payments. So let's welcome our online and live speakers.
So, hello everyone, and yesterday I was here in a retail central bank digital currency capacity, and today I'm here in a wholesale multi-CBDC capacity. So, CBDC, as said, stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. It is applying the learnings of digital currency in terms of instant settlement on a cross-border basis to the central banking community. And so when you hear the term mCBDC, that stands for multiple such CBDCs. So in sum, the mBridge that we are building is a new payment infrastructure whereby participating central banks can instantly do cross-border payments. So rather than at current, as you know, it taking several days, it can be done in seconds. So for this panel today, I have the pleasure to have a series of the most important central bankers, and each one of them equally critical on this project because we are all four working together. So in sum, what you see here is actually a team. We meet we talk every few days. We formally meet every few weeks, and we're driving forward the building of this platform. So the platform at current would be multiple CBDCs across China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the U.A.E. So that's why you see these very senior people here from these respective central banks. So in order to make this slightly easier to understand, we will start with a video that explains it in very, very simple words. So please play the video.
Currently, there is a multi-day delay between payment and settlement for a typical cross-border transaction processed via the correspondent banking network. Conceptually, central bank digital currency, CBDC, can be used to substantially increase transaction speed from taking several days to near real-time, while also reducing cost by up to half. The Multiple CBDC Bridge, or mBridge project, is a cooperation between the BIS Innovation Hub Hong Kong Centre, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the Bank of Thailand, the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China, and the Central Bank of the United Arab Emirates to enhance the efficiency, lower transaction cost, and streamline the regularity compliance requirements among different jurisdictions by using digital currencies and distributed ledger technology. To further test, improve and expand the functionality of the mBridge trial platform, a total of 22 private sector participants from 4 participating jurisdictions have identified 15 potential business use cases where CBDCs can be used to speed up payment and settlement. International trade, international trade settlement, programmable trade finance, supply chain financing, interoperability with digital trade finance platforms, capital market transactions, atomic settlement of tokenized corporate bonds, securitized FX spot futures and derivatives, Wealth Management Connect, digital native corporate bond issuance, dual currency FX derivative, other potential use cases, insurance payments, commercial payments, cross-border low-value payments aggregation service, cross-border e-commerce. The total value of international trade transactions between the 4 participating jurisdictions amounted to more than $730 billion US. Given that the mBridge platform offers a unique opportunity to improve the speed and lower the cost of these transactions, the mBridge Steering Committee has given priority to this use case. Testing of sample trade settlement transactions across 11 industries has commenced on the trial platform. The project is using an agile and iterative development approach, combined with a modular bricks design that enables participating jurisdictions to contribute functionality, connectivity, and interoperability with standing and future systems. The ultimate goal is to achieve a minimum viable product and eventually production-ready system that can support the full process of international trade settlement and, in due course, other use cases proposed as part of the project. We look forward to continuing our contribution to the international dimensions of this work, including by welcoming more central banks and private sector participants to our agile and experimentation-driven journey founded on the principles of do no harm, compliance, and interoperability.
Great, so thank you for that. So let's kick off the panel, and we have only 35 minutes. So first question over to you, Colin, from the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Today we want to focus on discussing in some this mBridge platform, which we saw in the video, which I introduced, and which Agustin also introduced. And in sum, this is a pretty massive undertaking, right? Because it is about building a new payment infrastructure. So one could say it is a long shot. It's not a short shot, it's a long shot. So the question to you, Colin, is what brought the HKMA to think that we can take this to this very ambitious outlook that we're having of a production-ready system as we have publicized it. And obviously, you have backgrounds working with the Bank of Thailand in the context of the then-named Internon Lion Rock projects, which went through 2 phases. So we would appreciate if you can just give us a bit of your observations and what led you on this path and what makes you a continued supporter and believer.
Well, thank you, Bénédicte. Well, I certainly agree. It will be a very massive undertaking. It is successful. It will be highly impactful as well. Well, I think from time to time in the past, there have been, talks or proposals about building, regional or even global common payment platform as such. But despite the fact that such ideas could have economic, substance or benefits, but so far none of those have really materialized. I guess what was lacking in the past would include where there exists a right to, and also there is a very strong political commitment to really to do it. And why do you think we can be successful this time? If you ask me, I think we probably have the right to, and also I sense that we are under an unprecedentedly strong political commitment at the moment. Well, in terms of the tools, I think the DLT technology does provide some new technical feasibility for tackling some of the issues that we can't, handle in the past. For example, the decentralized nature of the, technology can help with, doing away with the, problem about Where should such a platform be located? Who will be hosting it? Because all the central banks will be on equal footing, in terms of owning the platform, participation, holding the true wheel, which is immutable. And also, I think the programmable, smart contract features of the DLT would actually open up a new horizon for automating some of the, regulatory controls, which are usually cited as, factors tracking on the pace of cross-border payment in the past. Well, on the, political, commitment part, I think 2 years ago, I think the G20 started a global campaign to actually explore means to expedite global payments. I think it comes a package of 19 building blocks, including harmonization of standard, linking of payment system, and also exploring, innovative solutions.
Yeah.
And CBDC is one of them. And I think that strong political commitment is also enshrined in BIS Innovation Hub's, spearheading some of those projects. Personally, if you ask me, I think the objective of expediting cross-border payment could be easier to achieve through building new platforms, rather than recalibrating or linking existing ones. Because as we all know, existing local payment systems, they're usually entrenched in addressing very unique jurisdictional requirements. So I think the metaphor that I have been using quite often to describe the situation is that we now have the right soil, and we are also having the right climate, and so we probably need to act fast. So we need to do it fast, yet to do it right. And it is important we can, demonstrate to the community that, okay, there are true value in it. It can solve, practical issues. So that's the reason why, in the whole design of the project, we inject, practical tools to deal with practical issues like ethics, liquidity, compatibility with existing or even new infrastructures. And in terms of use case, I think all of us agree that we will focus on those with high impact and relatively easy to accomplish. So I think all the peers basically agree. We try to tackle the international, trade use cases first, and hopefully we'll be able to, provide early proof, really to the market about the viability of the product, and hopefully that can gather more interest of the international financial community.
Yeah, as you say, obviously in the context of those numbers of trade that we've seen, trade are some of the biggest numbers globally, right? So if trade can be sped up from multiple days to near instant, that should create more trade, right? In some, that would remove impediments. Normally, when you remove impediments, then things multiply, actually. So the benefit of a platform like this is ultimately the increase in trade that could result from it, right? Good. So I want to turn it over to Ms. Vachira, who is a deputy governor of the Bank of Thailand, and as said, one of our dear team members. And the Bank of Thailand is really quite unique because of all central banks globally, you can go and have a check. But they're the ones who really have done a lot of DLT exploration. So they've done it in the context of the two Intanon Lion Rock projects, but also in the context of retail CBDC, which we discussed yesterday. And on top of it, they've actually also done it in the context of bond tokenization. We will have a panel soon on another BIS project for bond tokenization. And one of the first central banks we spoke with is actually the Bank of Thailand. So they have a very good and advanced perspective actually on DLT specifically. So Ms. Vachira, my question to you is, what led you to have this aha moment to kind of embrace pretty quickly, at least, to very deeply look into DLT with all its up and its downsides, but to say we're going to go down that path and figure it out, as opposed to sitting back and waiting 5 years for others to figure it out, right? So you went deep down quite early. So would appreciate your perspective, not only on why and the moment that led you to that, but also your learnings.
Thank you, Bénédicte. And good afternoon to you all. Why DLT? Because at first, when we saw this kind of technology, we know that this is going to be a game changer. We see that people can do P2P to each other. So it's going to have something that maybe disrupt the workflow of the financial transaction in our system. And then I think that is the starting point that we are trying to understand the implication of the DLT into the financial system. So when we start doing this, and then we as I always say, we visit our central bank who start doing this, who start doing some researching about this kind of thing before us. So we talk to HKMA first, our neighboring country, and then one of the advice is we need to be 30 hands. So that's why when we come back and then we start to understand and try to learn by ourselves, because each country has its own unique in the financial system. So that's why we would like to see how the LT will apply to Thailand context. So we start doing wholesale CBDC first, replicate the RTGS, and then we start working with HKMA for the cross-border. We think that during that time, everybody all recognize that cross-border, the pain point of the cross-border is timely, it's costly. How can we make it more efficient? So I think that is the target that we would like to do during the past 2 or 3 years. So we start doing internal round drop, but it's just only 2 countries. So that's during that time we just experiment only the technology side. But this year, luckily that fortunately we have PBC, DCI, U.A.E, and HKMA, and also BIS to join, and also Bank of Thailand to join the mBridge project to see the cross-border. I think it's like a replicate the real-life cross-border payment, because not just only 2 countries. And then this time, we are not just only exploring about technology, but we are exploring some other things. We also thinking about the policy concern. As Colin has mentioned, it's about the FX management, it's about the capital flow and other policy, especially monetary policy, the implication on that. So this time, I think it's gonna make us see more real life cross-border transaction with the DLT. Whether it will help, I hope that hopefully that it will help expedite the time, and it will make the cross-border transaction shortly and timely, and then we'll see what happens. And also as you have mentioned, if we have the wholesale CBDC, we have the cross-border, it's not a complete picture, and then that's why we start doing the retail CBDC also. So we think that it's a jigsaw, and then if we have understand this kind of the 3 pieces of the jigsaw, it will help us see the whole payment system in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So yes, on the jigsaw side, I think that probably China is the most advanced at looking at the pieces of this jigsaw, right? So yesterday we heard of Mr. Mu in the retail CBDC context, and particularly the ECNY, and we heard some very impressive numbers. I mean, they never sink into my brain because they're so big, I can never remember them, and then I'm always worried if I repeat them that I say 1 0 too much or too few. So I will not repeat the numbers that Mr. Mu mentioned in the retail CBDC context. But so now we have Mr. Mu here with us, working on as the lead of the technical subcommittee of this mBridge project to try and bring this mBridge, so to say, to life. So, Mr. Mu, can you tell us more about the features of the mBridge? What's new, so to say? So, the more you can share, the better for this audience. I think, yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, Bénédicte. Good days, everyone. It seems like we are having a steerco meeting publicly. Because we met almost every 2 weeks and have so close working relationship together with Governor Vachira, Shu-Pui, and Colin. So it seems we're going to have another steerco meeting today. So when building mBridge, we apply the basic logic of a module approach, just like building Lego bricks. Participants, including the commercial banks, can choose and add their own bricks, for example, the functions or modules to the system. Compared to a silo architecture, where information is separated in different parts, Lego bricks approach is better in the sense that it further allows interaction and the synergy among modules. This approach enables us to achieve the objectives of mBridge. I will explain in detail how we use Lego bricks approach to realize flexibility, compatibility, and privacy protection. For flexibility, mBridge architecture is designed in a way to accommodate evolving needs from different jurisdictions in various parties. Currently, we have developed modules like payment, foreign exchange, like Colin has said, that compliance modules. Then we can put the modules together as needed, just like building Lego bricks. All jurisdictions can have the option to develop their own part in accordance with their own pace. This is a very flexible architecture, ensuring the flexibility of mBridge and accommodate different needs from every jurisdiction. In addition, smart contracts and flexible API arrangements are deployed to facilitate the flexible module arrangements. The second is compatibility. The mBridge is a hybrid architecture compatible with both single ledger and multiple ledger. We devoted to develop the mBridge underlying blockchain with a single ledger design. Participants can choose to run its own ledger system independently or use the mBridge underlying blockchain ledger directly. On the first option, each ledger system runs independently, and it can use either blockchain technology or traditional architecture according to its own needs. For example, for those who don't have a blockchain system or a CBDC system, we can interlink the traditional payment system, for example, the RTGS, to mBridge. This design will help to satisfy different privacy protection requirements. And then the second option is easier for the implementation of complex transactions logic, and the cost will be lower for system integration and interlink. The third is privacy protection. The mBridge pays greater importance on privacy protection and employs several effective privacy protection technologies. To achieve privacy protection, the data on the ledger is encrypted, and non-related parties have no access to key transactions information. Privacy function of mBridge is also supported by a pseudonym system, where a unique address will be assigned to decouple the transaction information from the user's real identity. Based on these designs, the mBridge features itself with a strong capability in privacy protection. And the single ledger part has a similar privacy protection mechanism in place also. Going forward, mBridge will further improve flexibility and expand docking services, which allows the integration of different types of financial infrastructures. Meanwhile, mBridge will explore to realize more functions like liquidity saving mechanism. We seek to achieve better interoperability with payment system and to push the capabilities of DLT and CBDC in supporting world critical infrastructure requirements, of course, with all of us together today in this room, I believe we can make it happen. Thank you. Back to you, Bénédicte.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mu. So over to Shu-Pui. So we've now discussed the broader context. We've discussed the use of DLT in specific. Then we've discussed the features, including, for example, the privacy protection features, as well as the Lego bricks approach and the connectivity with either standing RTGS or future systems. So from your perspective, Shu-Pui, you're leading the business subcommittee to this project, and in some you are thinking about the specific use cases. Today we've issued a brochure with 15 use cases, as we mentioned on the video. And in the brochure you can click on the links and you can see how the financial institutions that participated formulated those use cases in detail. So I want to know from your perspective, Shu-Pui, let's say from your specific position in the U.A.E, what opportunity do you see? And an opportunity is normally linked to an important pain point. So in terms of the pain point of the corporates that you're seeking, to, like corporates who want to do transfers, that you want to address and that you think the mBridge can address, if you could formulate it for this audience, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Bénédicte. Okay, good day to all friends here. Okay, as Mr. Mu said, we meet probably, not weekly or maybe every other weeks we see each other. Okay, and then Mr. Mu always gives us a lot of happy problems because they always front run the business development. Okay, they develop the technical requirements sometimes faster than the business use cases. Anyway, okay, to answer your questions, I would like to look at that from two aspects. Okay, from the central bank perspective, also from the industry perspective. If you ask me, I see another very strong business use case for the central bank or regulatory authorities that run payment systems. mBridge can provide a very efficient and highly resilient non-similar backup facility to our financial market infrastructure, i.e. our RTGS. Because it also does domestic fund transfer between banks and central banks. And with the features, we are going to build in liquidity provision and a lot of other control features to be built on top. I can see the mBridge to a certain extent even more efficient, effective, or more resilient than a lot of domestic RTGS. Okay, so with that in place, from a central bank perspective, I think my boss, the governor of the U.A.E, definitely the central bank U.A.E will feel more comfortable from a financial market infrastructure perspective, enhancing our financial stability. Okay, that's number one. If you ask me from a business case perspective, I say from a central bank perspective. From the industry perspective, the brochure have given a lot of use cases. I will highlight two of them. I think also very relevant to the U.A.E, international trade settlement. We look at some of the global figures. In 2019, the global trade talking about $19 trillion US. And then the four jurisdictions now we're together: China, Hong Kong, U.A.E, Thailand, and we are talking about $780 billion US. These material amounts already tell the story. I think that's a very strong business case. If I look at U.A.E perspective, okay, China is our kind of largest exporter in terms of the oil. And then another example, when I spoke with the industry about business cases, identify transactions. And some of them, because I'm not very good at those international trade arrangements. And another example I found very interesting. We bought vaccine from China, but the payment is not made to China, it's to Hong Kong. Okay, so these four jurisdictions, there are a lot of combinations that come out a very strong business case for us. And then for international trade settlement, as correspondent banking network is the major arrangement for cross-border trade settlement. I don't want to repeat the ping pongs, etc., because that's been mentioned many times. But I want to put up a lessons learned here. Okay, in the MENA region, okay, the Arab central banks have built an Arab regional payment system to connect 22 countries together through their domestic RTGS with a central regional payment platform to allow 22 countries to do cross-border payments. And because a lot of transactions are still done in US dollar, with the blessing of the US authority, we put US dollar there, and JP Morgan is appointed as the settlement institution. Over a year now. In terms of the adoption, the usage, I think far lower than our expectation. But it's lower cost, more efficient, you know, and comparing to corresponding banking network. Why it doesn't work? Okay, at least today, after a year. Okay, my personal view is banks don't like changes, particularly changes to their financial infrastructure. Okay, more efficient payment, lower cost, does it mean higher revenue to them? And then the well-established correspondent banking network, okay, they make quite a bit of revenue from there. Unless we can provide some additional benefit to them. Okay, my message is very clear. mBridge cannot be just purely a replacement or alternative to corresponding banking network. It won't work. We need to make a difference using mBridge, okay, and then make it a win-win situation for all participants with value-added services. So that's the team here need to think about how to really make that happen. And the second use case I would like to highlight is cross-border remittance, particularly from the U.A.E. perspective. Also, I look at some of the global figures. You know, in 2020, the global remittance, based on the World Bank figures, about $700 billion US. U.S. is number one, accounting for 68 billion. Not too much surprise. U.A.E. is number two, accounting $43 billion US. Okay, and then we only have a 9 million plus population. But in this country, 80% of people are expatriates. Okay, that's, I think, probably tell the story why $43 billion US cross-border remittance. China is number 6, 18 billion. So the two jurisdictions here accounting for nearly 9% of global remittances, over $60 billion US. Another story, tells this is a strong use case. So, but the others like capital market transactions, e-commerce, tax, government payments, they're also important. I think, we got to look at that in the next stage. But I see a very strong business case of this mBridge. And provided, as I said, it cannot be a purely replacement or an alternative to the current arrangement. We got to put more value-added services, really make a difference, and make a win-win situation for all participants. Then it will work. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I want to shift now a little bit away from mBridge with the two final questions in this final 9 minutes that we have. So Colin, over to you. We are here in Hong Kong. It's Hong Kong FinTech Week. It's our favorite event of the year. We've been working towards this the whole year. We've been meeting many people. So anyway, this is part of Hong Kong's role as an international financial center, right? So my question to you is, how do you see the role of Hong Kong as an international financial center and as an RMB hub evolve in the context of CBDC specifically?
Well, thank you, Bénédicte. I think, well, Hong Kong certainly would have a prominent role to play in this space. However, I would not be using the conventional, hub concept to describe it. Because after all, the DLT is meant to decentralize, right? So rather, I think, given our role, our unique position, I think Hong Kong can contribute very significantly to the development of this platform. We will be a heavy user of it, and in turn, it will reinforce our status as an IFC. Well, first in terms of our contribution to the platform. Well, the mBridge platform is by nature a payment system. For any payment system to be successful, it needs to have a good volume of money settlement to deal with, arising from different types of use cases, trading goods and services, FX, bonds, capital market transactions like that. Well, as you all know, Hong Kong is an IFC. We are a hub in trade. We are a hub in capital market. So there's no doubt we can contribute a good number and variety of use cases to help the development of the platform itself. Well, from the perspective of, how the platform can, help us to enforce our status as an IFC, and I think for people when they choose the financial center, they always want to have, a low-cost, instant, and hassle-free experience in making cross-border payment. And so from a competition angle as an IFC, we certainly want to see that our financial institution can have access to this platform to provide top-notch, cross-border payment service. So we have a very, very strong interest to see that we are kind of staying at the forefront of the whole development. And I think that dimension is actually shared by other, peer central banks as well. But for us, we have an added dimension in terms of, further strengthening our interconnection with the mainland China, especially in the GBA areas. And so for us, I think we will endeavor to put priority in, realizing mBridge use cases to facilitate, money flow within the GBA. And I think that will, in turn, really reinforce our role as an IFC, and also our, share and our significance in this, initiative will then gradually increase over time.
Great, thank you very much, Colin. So yesterday, my moderator, who's here, it's Danielle, asked me the question about mBridge and in the context really of the evolution of payments, because it's kind of like payments evolution fireworks if you think about it. And to just mention some of the things we touched upon yesterday, there is cryptocurrency, there is stable coins, there is retail CBDC, there is wholesale CBDC, there is big tech payment, there is big tech cross-border payment, there is let's say specific companies, not yet big techs, but growing in cross-border payment. I don't want to mention specific ones, they will feel too important if I only mention them. So in sum, it's fireworks all over the place, right? So my question to each one of you, and just for a minute each, is if you have any final observations you want to share. Maybe over to Vachira first, in terms of the future of payment in sum.
Yeah, thank you. I will just focus on the cross-border. In order to make the cross-border platform or our corridor network working well, the strong network will be the very important, the significant key message. And then the strong network. But in order to have a strong network, a close collaboration and interoperability is the two key things that will make it happen. And then the expanding of the network will be even important also in the successful of the cross-border payment. Thank you.
Great. Shu-Pui? I think we lost Mr. Mu.
Okay. I'm still here, but you may not.
Oh.
You may not
okay. Well, yes, we don't see you. So yes, Mr. Mu, any thoughts?
Well, you have said that we are having a beautiful fireworks. We are going to have beautiful fireworks in the payments service markets, the cross-border payments and retail, domestic the payment markets. But we are going to follow. I think most of the international setting bodies and monetary authorities are going to follow the principle of same business, same risk, and same regulation to regulate all those payment instruments. So although the fireworks is beautiful, but in final, let's see the earth to earth, dust to dust. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Shu-Pui.
Okay, very quick. I think the future payments, in relation to the development of cryptocurrency, stablecoin, or this kind of innovative product, and CBDC, I think two aspects will determine the end result of the game: regulation, innovation. If you look at the current environment globally, there's no consistent regulatory framework approach to dealing with virtual assets, ranging from banning them or ignoring them, say this is not money, not currency, so beware, you know, this risky, blah, blah, blah. To the other extreme, well recognized, accepted, become part of the regulatory framework, even licensing them and allowing banks to deal with or to be part of the service provider virtual asset. I'm not saying right or wrong, okay, but the inconsistency of all this development in terms of regulatory approach and legislation will affect the end result, okay, of the whole game. But FedEx is not waiting. I mean, FedEx has already put up the requirement. You either license or register virtual asset service providers or depend them. Okay, you cannot say you ignore them. Okay, so regulation will be one very major determination factor. Innovation. Central banks are not good at innovation. I have to admit that. Okay, sometimes we fund run innovation by regulation. And also look at CBDC, to be really honest, nothing exciting. It's central bank issuing money in a digital manner. Okay, if you look at the market, I just want to quote a very quick example. You know, I saw it from the news. EQIFI, a decentralized finance platform, had launched a global crypto MasterCard which enabled users to leverage their digital asset to make real-time payment domestically in online or international payments. Also, they plan to develop an automated process where crypto is directly spent by the wide debit cards, facilitating payment through digital assets, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other ERC20 tokens. And in a way, it's quite attractive, you know, from the holder of those digital asset or virtual asset or crypto asset, whatever you call it. Okay, can use for payment, for speculation, for whatever purposes. And our CBDC to be compete with that, okay, putting the regulation aside, it's not easy. It's a big challenge. Okay, so I think the outcome of the end game or the result of the end game really depends on the regulation and our innovation. I think we cannot sit back and just purely think we are central bank because it's central bank money, everybody will use it, adopt it. It might not be the case, you know, from my experience in the past 20 years as a central banker. So we got to work together, and then we got to be innovative. At the same time, the regulatory framework has to be balanced, allow all this development at the same time in a kind of balanced manner. Okay, that's my final point. Yeah.
Colin, final.
Well, I would certainly agree with the peers they just mentioned. In the interest of time, I just raised 2 points.
Yeah.
Regardless of the delivery channel of the service, 2 core values of any financial service that we also need to deliver for our platform is trust and the genuine value that you can bring to the users. And we'll bear this in mind together with the regulations, together with other considerations, and continue with our journey.
Yeah. So maybe to close, I think the thing we have demonstrated with the prototype, and we've issued in some a 60-page report in end September, and now this video, we just uploaded it onto our website, as well as this brochure that accompanies it. And the base fact is you can make payments instantly, okay? So most of the payments on the prototype were in under 2 seconds. So it's not even like an hour, okay? It's 2 seconds compared to the current system, 3 to 5 days. So that's something we know. But I think, and that's important because that's the base use case. But what we need on top of that is indeed bringing the users along, right? And that's why we now have the use cases, and we're starting a much more active interaction really with the private sector to make this succeed. On the last point on the distinction between private digital currencies versus central bank ones, I do think there is a very big distinction, and the distinction is that one is a claim on the central bank and the other one is not. So I do think, let's say, it's a competitive game, Shu-Pui, as you said, but with different, everyone has its advantages and disadvantages, and central bank currency is, after all, the one that we currently use every day. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope you had a good session. And don't miss our session on green finance, which is the Genesis project. Thank you.